fact. And I'll go up against any one of them because we are better than them in every way.
So this is what I grew up around. I mean, there was certain areas where I grew up, you couldn't walk there because there were just needles on the floor.
Wow.
You had to walk around it.
That's the only feeling I'm working towards is when my day comes, I'm going to look back and I'm going to say, I couldn't have given that an ounce more. And regret is the one thing that will eat you. It will eat you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real Estate All Stars podcast. Today, I am joined with Quosmia and Kirsty Lyons. Yeah. Got that right. You guys probably are familiar with Quos, who featured in the Mega Mansions TV series on Channel 4 that was out in February this year. I think it's still on all four. And Kirsty Lyons is one of our newer agents. She's been with us about 6 months and has made a massive impact. Quos in East London, as you probably know, in Essex regions, and also doing a lot in prime North London. And Kirsty is now becoming a real rising star in Essex. So we've got them both in today, so welcome.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
Good, I'm glad to have you here. First of all, just to compliment you on your colour coordination today.
It actually wasn't planned, to be honest.
Was that planned?
Yeah,
No,
it wasn't planned at all. No way.
Time.
I think, to be honest, it'll be a nice sort of contrasting conversation today because, and I want to start with you, Quos. To be honest, you've done some, so for those that do or don't know, so Quos is in the sort of top 5% of the business. He was effectively one of the top billers for the year last year and is up in the top two. No, are you top at the moment?
Top 3, I believe.
Top 3. I think you're second or first. Yeah. I've got to have another look, but so far in the year. One of the real jewels of the crown was a £5 million sale that you just completed on in Hadley Wood in North London. That was a sale that was on the market with multiple agents. Beautiful new build home.
Stunning home.
And you achieved an amazing price for that of approximately £5 million. And that was phenomenal. And to be honest, before we get into all the kind of results and the accolades, I want to start with your journey. I think yours is probably the most, and we've all got some stories, and I know I certainly have, but I won't fill you with them today. But just talk us through your journey and probably even before real estate and how you've ended up here, because I think a lot of people would be interested to know, first of all, what kind of life you were leading beforehand and how and what the journey has been to really get you into a position where you're selling. I think you've done about 170 million pound of sales in the last 2 years, which is absolutely phenomenal.
Never thought I'd do that.
So just talk us through, where were you before this?
So I was born in East London. I lived in Bow all my life.
Were you one of the people who could hear the bells of Bow from the hospital? Does that make you a genuine East Londoner? That's what
I've been literally living there since I was born. So
amazing. So you would have done.
I would guess so. Yeah. But I've got 4 older brothers. I got I had 2 older sisters. One passed away. Yeah. I've got a younger sister as well. My father died in '98, I believe. Wow. When I was around 7 years old.
Wow. Sure.
Oldest brother was. Well, he was my eldest brother, but he was in and out, obviously.
Oh, okay.
The big house, so
he was.
He wasn't always there.
He was leading a patchy life. Yeah.
So I mean, the upbringing, it wasn't.
Because I've met your family. You've got a very loving, very caring family. They support you in a lot of ways. But I think a lot of it, from what I could see, was not necessarily the battles with family. I think a lot of it was maybe your surroundings, maybe outside of the home as well.
It was growing up. I mean, where I come from is you're either doing 2 things. It's either you're selling drugs or you're robbing people or
both.
Or both. I mean, you could be doing both if you've got the ability for that. But anyway, but it was either that, and I think it came down to growing up with certain people in their state. Yeah. From a very young age, seeing things like glamorized. Well, it was glamorous in my eyes, Yeah. So what I mean by that is you'll see like older people or older guys in the area driving around the nicest cars, flashiest watch.
Earning good money.
I mean, it was a council estate, so everyone knew each other, and these are the kind of things you're seeing every single day, where you're going to school with a hole in your shoe. Yeah. You're thinking to yourself, I want what they got. Like I want what he's driving. I want his watch.
Do these people, because obviously like people have probably watched Me for One, have watched series like Top Boy and things like that on TV. How accurate is that as a representation for people, where they're kind of attracting the younger kids to work for them effectively and to do jobs for them, and they're glamorising it? You can earn this money, you can have these trainers, you can drive these cars, all that sort of stuff.
They make it tempting.
Yeah, exactly. How accurate is that, or is it worse?
It's probably worse because you probably got kids as young as 11, 10. I mean, I started at a very young age, probably age of 12.
Really?
So you look back at it and you're thinking to yourself, I mean, has it gotten better? I don't think so. It's probably everything just getting glamorized to a certain extent where this is the life to live. So this is what I grew up around. I mean, there was certain areas where I grew up, you couldn't walk there because there were just needles on the floor.
Wow.
You had to walk around it. So
it's insane.
It's mental where I come from. Yeah. It's either you're doing one or the other, but the upbringing was it was hard.
I think like it's absolutely like staggering when you actually think about it, because obviously look, it's been no secret with regards to like I had a criminal record, I did a stint in jail and all that sort of stuff, and obviously but I didn't encounter that. It wasn't it wasn't that kind of life that I was in. I was just doing little bits on the side, selling stuff to friends, that sort of stuff that kind of they're all pretty reasonable people, like working middle class people. I wasn't a gangster, and like and I think that like when I hear about some of the stories you've told me, I know that you told me some like mind blowing stories of some of the things that have happened. I mean, how involved did you end up getting in with it at the time?
I was in it deep. Like I can't really explain this, but you got like experience it for yourself. It's just so lost in it.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're waking up every morning and you're doing the same repetitive thing every single day, there's no stop to it, and you're not thinking about anything else. You're only thinking about that. I mean, there was times where I was young and my mum kicked me out of my house for 3 weeks.
Wow.
And I still did what I was doing on the road. Like it didn't bother me that I was kicked out of the house, as long as I was making that money or getting involved in certain things, being there for certain people with certain things. That's the only thing I cared about, because it's just embedded in your head.
Do you think, because I know like with shows like Top Boy as well, like they make people feel like they're part of this family, they're part of this, like it could be like a gang, it could be like people around you, and you sort of think, oh, they will do anything for you, they will like ride for you and like stick up for you, and if someone kind of mugs you off, they're going to have your back and all this stuff. But do you not think it's bullshit, isn't it? Like for me,
you're all connected by the money.
Yes,
that's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, would he be there for you if you wasn't involved in making money with him, or would he be there for you if you was broke? Even. Or are you getting certain respect in the area because you've got the money and you can do anything with it?
Yeah.
Because the way I see it, the more money you have, the more power you get. Yes, in that world, but at the same time, if you ain't got that money, what have you got? There's no.
Do you know the funny thing is, right? Because obviously, I remember like certain circles where like I might go to places and certain people who are maybe linked with certain people that I was, and I'd be sat at tables or in nightclubs, and there would be like, they'd be real gangsters like sat with us or sat around us and all this sort of stuff. And I remember when I was younger, I would like look up to these people and almost like idolize them. They'd be like, they'd have the big watches on, they'd have like the decked out Range Rovers, and they'd be like, they'd open their like little man bag and there'd be like 15 grand in their man bag.
That's a story about
that. And it's like, and I used to look at these things for, oh my God, like look at what they've got, look at how much money they've got and all this sort of stuff. And and they'd talk to me like quickly, and they'd talk to me like a piece of shit, and I'd be like, yeah, no worries, and I'd run off and I'd like grab them a drink or do something, and it'd be like this weird like hierarchical respect thing.
They've got authority.
But the funny thing is that like that doesn't apply in business. And the one thing is that like when I started learning seriously about business and to become what is effectively a gangster in business, but not an illegal gangster. I'm talking about a boss, like a boss in business. I'm talking about an executive decision maker. I'm talking about someone who actually has the ability to grow a proper business, not an illegal one. The sense of self-belief changes a lot. And the weird thing is, I've been in environments since where potentially, through no fault of my own, I've maybe been in an environment with the same types of people who potentially 10 years ago, I would have gone, oh my God, like they're so amazing. And then that same respect isn't there because I'm not trying to be like them, you know, just the same as I know that they wouldn't last 5 minutes in the business world. And, you know, just the same as I wouldn't last 5 minutes in their world. They're completely different walks of life now. And it's weird that it's all about your perspective, isn't it?
Mindset changes.
Yeah, it's all about your perspective.
Especially when you wake up.
Yeah.
Because that life, it's only two ways about it. It's either you're in jail or you're 6 foot under, and that's literally it. There's nothing. That's it. I mean, that's the only two ways it's going to end. Because
there's so many risks now. Yeah. And it's also like when you talk about kind of, I think like, who was I here? I can't remember who I heard talking about it on a podcast. And they just basically said that like, you know, when you see like in the, you know, even 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 30, 40 years ago, they could get away with stuff quite easily. I mean, it was still hard, but Jesus Christ, the technology they have for like catching people. I mean, I know people I know people who've been convicted because they didn't even get caught with anything. They just had trackers on where their cell phones were.
Yeah, cell sites and all that stuff.
And because their cell phones were in the same places of where certain things were happening, they could convince either a jury if they pleaded not guilty or whatever it might have been, that situationally they were guilty. And of course, it becomes a situation where you're actually guilty until proven innocent, effectively. And you know, there's so many things to get over now, and most of them will end up in jail. Just, you know, I was doing pretty much nothing, and I got caught very, very easily. And you just think, God, like...
You had to learn the hard way, basically.
Oh, my God. I thought to myself, like, when it happened to me, I mean, I can laugh about it now. But I was thinking, I remember when they sentenced me, and they didn't need to put me in jail.
They did. They did. You wasn't going to learn your lesson, mate. Let's be honest.
I just thought to myself, like, you know, when your arse drops out, and I was like, fucking hell, how is this? And I was fully shitting myself. And like, and I just thought to myself, if there was a way I could sort of communicate with them, like, look, you don't need to send me to jail. You're not going to see me again in it. It's fine.
I'll do anything.
But you know, I had to do 2 years of my life going through that. And it did change me as a person massively because it was the best way I could probably describe it was like being dead, but you're still alive, if that makes sense. So
all you got is time.
Yeah.
And you're thinking,
and it's like everyone does forget about you. I don't care what anyone says. You become almost like you've passed away. You know how like so if someone passes away,
you mourn.
There's like 5 minutes of the memorials, the funerals, and all that sort of stuff, and then they just get forgotten about, and they do, and it's not fair, but that's what it is. And life goes on, the world carries on turning. People go to work, people have families. They're not going to keep going. Oh, do you remember Ty who's in jail? And you become forgotten about, and that's not. And I don't ever blame people who stopped writing to me at the time and stopped communicating because it's not their fault that I've landed myself in this situation. And I remember the relief of, you know, people go, you know, you get used to it and all this sort of stuff. I didn't get used to it. Every single hour, every single minute that I spent in there was a waste of my time. And I just remembered looking at the calendar, and I remember like looking at the clocks every day and all this sort of stuff. And I remember the morning that I was in a DCAT, like an open prison at that time. And I remembered the morning, and I must have cleaned my cell 4 times from 6 a.m. till 10, just to kill the time because I had to go at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
I had all my bags packed. Now I remember when people were leaving, and there was like this big thing, and all these people would like crowd around them, and they'd be like hugging each other. Oh my God, I'll see you when I'm out, and all this sort of stuff. I did none of that. I was literally like, the minute it was my morning, I didn't even say bye to one person, not even people who I'd sort of made friends with. I was gone. I didn't even tell anyone about the day I was going. Yeah. I was literally out. See you later. I'm never going to talk to anyone here again. and you're never going to hear from me again. Just get me the fuck out of it now. For sure. And it was literally like, and the most amazing thing was, I remembered like when I had like my home visits that were like 2 or 3 days. It was so weird because you'd go home and it was like your family and everyone were trying so hard to make it a good time for you. And my dad would go, look, let's take you to get a haircut. Do you want to go and get a KFC? Do you want to go to Naz? All these things that you don't get to do. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like, you know, everyone's treating me really nice. And I was thinking, oh, this is nice. Like, and all this. And then I remember when I got out and I thought, right, I'm ready for a bit of that, and then I could see my dad's face and it was a very different face. It was like,
wow.
He's like, if you ever put this fucking family through this again, we will literally disown you. I don't think you understand the damage you've caused. And one of the standout things for me was I remembered like in the visiting hall, and I remembered seeing my dad, who was effectively the strongest person I know in my life. And there's 2 times I've seen that man cry. The first was when he buried his sister, and the second was looking at me in a visiting hall. And when you can cause that much hurt to people you love because of your own irresponsible actions, if that doesn't change you as a man, I don't think anything will. That image will stay with me for the rest of my life. And that was what hit home for me.
That was your turning point.
That was it. I promise you, that was it.
That was because everyone in life gets that one thing that happens to them.
That was earth shattering.
Yeah.
That was earth shattering because that was like, you're having these meaningless conversations and stuff like that, and then you realise this guy is like breaking down. There's like 50-year-old women like comforting my dad, and I was just like, what have I done to this guy? What have I done to this family? And that was when I vowed to never. I don't even pay a parking ticket late. I get a lot of them, but I never pay them late.
Imagine.
It's so. For you, Quaz, sorry, Kirsty, we will get on to you. I just love this kind of story. Like, it's
we promise.
I remembered interviewing you for the first time, meeting you.
That was funny.
And we were going back a bit and forth on like
on Instagram.
So
we met on social media.
Yes, social media. Yeah.
Apparently so.
Yeah. And with that, I remember you sending me because you were doing lettings for your sister's lettings company. And they weren't the most glamorous of properties.
My first ever job, man. What do you expect?
And you were sending me stuff, and you were going, "Can you help us sell this? Can you do this?" And I remember messaging. There's about 4th or 5th messages, and I remember I'd love to find the conversation somewhere. It's got to be in there.
Yeah.
But I just remember going, like, "What are you doing, mate? Like, what are you sending me?" Like, I don't want to sell these flats, like that, And I said, have you ever thought about just actually selling the stuff we're selling? He's like, "Oh, I'd love to do it, but I could never imagine." I said, "Come and have a coffee with me." And then you came with your sister, who's a lovely woman, and she came and we sat and we had a really long chat in I think it was a Holiday Inn in Islington in Angel.
That's a spot.
And
legendary spot.
Yeah, it was. That was where I used to do a lot of interviews. And
there's probably only a few agents in at that point, right?
Oh, there's next to no one. It was we were about 5,
really?
5 or 6.
I think it wasn't the 5th, maybe.
You were the 5th. Yeah.
Nice.
And it was just like we banded around the ideas, and your sister was basically just saying, look, he's had a certain life, he doesn't want that life, he doesn't want to be involved in that anymore. And what was it? My question really, because I could go through the interview stage, it was a good interview and it was a lot of talking about what we've just done. But what I want to know is, we just spoke about a turning point for me.
Yeah.
What was the turning point for you that made you go, I mean, it probably was working in your sister's lettings company, but then to actually go, right, I want to do this, I'm going to change my life. What was it?
Do you mean pre-lettings?
I think, if there's been whatever it's been, it doesn't matter.
Well, I think most people know anyway, but there was a turning point in 2017 where something major happened with me and my closest friends, where I lost everyone. What I mean by that, I lost my best friend, obviously, and lost a few other friends. I don't really want to get into it because it was super major, but that was the turning point for me.
Yeah.
Because I could have just easily carried on doing what I was doing, but I just thought to myself, enough's enough.
Yeah.
I just don't care about this money anymore. I was 27 at that time.
Yeah. And
I've never had a job.
Yeah.
The only thing I knew was that.
Wow.
And that is literally all I knew. If you go around like where I live, they will tell you all this guy knew was just about hustling. That's all he was good for.
Yeah.
Literally. But I'll take that because if I can hustle, right? But then, well, when Tyrone messaged me on Instagram, at first I told him to go piss off. I don't want to come see you. Yeah, that's what I said to him, because I thought to myself, like, how is this guy like messaging me for, like, who am I, like? I'm nobody. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so he messaged me saying, come sell luxury properties. It's that. At first I didn't want to do it, but then we met. But then the conversation that we had was pure honesty, because I told him because he said to me, I've got like a few skeletons as well. So, and I said to him, if you open up first, then I'll open up with you as well.
In fact, I remember this because I actually said, I've got a very good kind of nose for like when someone's a little shit. And and I could just tell. I was looking at him and he was being all nice and he was telling me what I wanted to hear. And I just thought, I know you're a little shit. I know you are. Like, I know you get up to stuff. I know you do. And I could tell. And so we kind of opened up a bit about it. And I just said, look, at the end of the day, you know, I'm not one to judge, but one thing I won't have is someone bringing shit to my front door. I just can't do it. If someone wants to change and they want to, you know, take an active responsibility in positively changing their life, then I'm all for it and I'll work with you. But if you're gonna carry on doing stupid things on the side and then try and pass off as selling luxury property, then that's a recipe for disaster, and we can't tolerate that. And to be fair, you've always stuck out. You've never stepped out of line. You've never done anything wrong. You've had your issues you've had to get over with, but like, who hasn't? You know, and,
I mean,
who hasn't? And I think you've shown immense character and growth in what you've done. So I've got to commend you on it, mate.
Thank you. I appreciate
really do.
that, man.
Kirsty. So Kirsty, you've been with us about 6 months.
Yep.
How do you feel over 6 months? Because I think it's probably it's funny because the first sort of 2-3 months has been really learning. And then I think in the last 2 months, your name's been coming up a lot. For the right reasons. So we haven't quite got as colourful a story, but it's an interesting one still. So what do you think has been kind of the most interesting part for you in this journey? Because you've been doing some, I mean, just because you'll be quite modest about it, you've got multiple sort of multi-million-pound listings now under your name. You're in the brink of sort of tying up deals. You know, how has it been going for you, basically?
It's definitely ramping up in the last couple of months, weeks more so. And it's purely, when you first start out, it's a learning curve, especially because my previous experience is, you know, it's in financial services, it's in a large corporate firm. It's completely different to, stepping out, sort of going into property, like not even just a estate agency, because that is obviously completely different. And not something that I ever wanted to be in, but real estate is completely different, as we know. It's just about, I think for me, it's stepping out of my comfort zone. And I was in financial services for 7 years. I was very comfortable doing what I'd done. You know, I wasn't on bad money. I just wanted something different. And I just wanted to take the risk and, you know, hope that it would just pay off, which it's looking like it's going to.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you've just got to, like Cos was saying, you've just got to believe in yourself.
I think the self-belief is massive. And I think one of the interesting things, because, you know, I like to kind of have a contrast with these sort of podcasts, because it's easy to say, you know, Cos is earning big money. I think last month he earned probably what most people would do. No, most high earners would do in a year. And you know, and that for me is is phenomenal as a journey. But I think one of the important things that we like to get across in these is the people who are, you know, are making their way in the first 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, a year, because this for me is the most crucial part of your whole career, because it's the first of all, it's the hardest part.
It is the hardest, yeah.
And second of all, it's the biggest time. It's the most you're going to learn out of your whole career, because this is about finding your style, finding your rhythm, winning your clients, getting that sort of, getting that sort of the results in for the first period. What would you say to people who potentially are either thinking about joining, and it's a question I ask a lot on this, is someone who's thinking of joining, what advice would you give to someone who's maybe just started or is starting?
I think get used to being uncomfortable in the first couple of months.
Yes.
Because I think, there's things, especially if it's a career change.
Yes.
Then there's so much learning. Like you think, I'll just list a house and show someone around and be done with it.
And sunset.
And it's and it's not like that. So I would say get used to feeling uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say is you get out what you put in.
Yes.
So I think especially with real estate, you're not on a basic salary. You can't just sort of wake up at 9, 10
have
o'clock.
A good day, have a bad day.
Yeah, you know what? Whether I do something or not, I'm going to get paid for the next couple of hours. Like you have to put in the effort, and you will reap the rewards.
Yeah,
after.
Absolutely. I think that's great advice because, I feel like Britain as a nation, we've always kind of pumped and sold mediocrity as an option. That okay, just get a good job. And I've had it, for myself, it was always just get a job. Work your way up, make a couple of little investments, and when you're 55, 60, you can retire. And I thought, well, hold on.
And it's going to take you sort of 30, 40 years to get to the top, to be CEO.
Yeah. What the hell am I going to do with a Lamborghini when I'm 60?
Yeah.
Can't get your ass.
So, it's... I just think it's a crazy. Way of doing it. So, I've put some pretty kind of garish stuff out there where, like I've said, you're selling your soul in a 9-to-5 job, but I believe it because I just think to myself, I've got a vision or a view on life. I've got a view on life that you get one stab at it, you get one shot at it, and you're either going to be one day we're all going to have our day. And we're going to be old, and it's all going to be done then. You're not going to care about your money. You're not going to care about your cars. You're not going to care about anything. You're just going to care about the legacy that you leave behind. And you're going to either sit there and you're going to be full of regret, or you're going to be fulfilled and you're going to think, do you know what? I gave that everything I could give it. And that's all. That's the only feeling I'm working towards is when my day comes, I'm going to look back and I'm going to say I couldn't have given that an ounce more. That's the only thing I'm going to care about because the biggest regret people have, and I know it's a bit morbid, but the biggest regret people have on their deathbed, and they did a survey, weirdly, and the biggest thing that came up was regret.
Yeah,
it was regret.
They didn't want to take.
It was regret. And regret is the one thing that will eat you. It will eat you because if you live not taking risk, it's only money. It's only money. Yeah. You can always get more. Yep. You go bankrupt, you can always reload again. You can always go again. Like people think money. It's like this thing where you lose money and that's it. Your life's over. You want to go and jump off a bridge. You don't. Just start again.
It's true because I think last year there was a time where I had 3 sales in the pipeline. Remember, I think it was 150k in fees.
Yeah.
One sale dropped off. That's fine. I've still got 2 more. Another one dropped off. So that's fine. I still got 100k in it. Then that dropped, and I was like, oh my god, what do I do now?
I'm going to get a 9-to-5 job.
Well, you start spending the money in your head.
Yeah, you do.
Like I've had exactly the same. I had the same thing where I had I think it was 3 deals
Big
as well,
deal,
and it was a chain, and the bottom of the chain pulled out on the day of exchange. And I remember being on the phone to my mum, and I was like, "Mum, he's fucking pulled out. I can't believe this. This job's a joke." Blah 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 blah. And it was like, Mum's like calming me down as she always does, and and I said, "What do I do? Like, what do I do? Maybe I just." I don't know, like go and get a normal job and have a break. And all this. She's like, "No, just go out and prospect and go out and go door knocking." And I actually went door knocking that day. Yeah. And weirdly, and people probably won't believe me, but God's honest truth, I can tell you, there was a house that I knocked that day in Islington, and it was 1.7 million, and I sold it, and I earned like 15 grand commission on that, and that was because I took positive action. Yeah. To go and I think if you take affirmative action, regardless of how you feel, regardless of what happens to you, you will inevitably dictate that outcome as a positive, which goes on to what you're saying about, you've got to put yourself out your comfort zone. You've got to put yourself out your comfort zone. So you're operating in Essex, Kirsty. So we're doing a lot of business in Essex now. We've got a lot of big sales that are happening. We've got some amazing things going on. What parts of Essex are you really sort of focusing on?
Got Brentwood.
Yeah.
Brentwood's a lovely area.
Yeah, there's a lot
Nice
going on
houses.
there. There's some huge houses. I know we've just
there.
agreed a big sale for 5 million in Chigwell.
Yeah, Chigwell.
There's there's a lot going on in that part of the world. And what I love about it is, I think as far as luxury areas of London and the outskirts of London go, I think you get a pretty good bang for your buck with what you get. If you spend if you spend £2 million in Essex, you get a lot of house.
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of square foot.
You do.
Yeah.
You'll have the gates. You'll have
You'll
have the parking. You'll have the square footage. You'll have the back garden. You'll have it all.
Yeah, and it's not, it's a little bit further out than, the busy London areas.
You're sort of far enough out, but close enough to come in.
Yeah,
but those areas, they're still very vibrant, just so multicultural, just so much to do as well. It's like, it's similar to like Barnet, Hertfordshire.
I love that sort of side of it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where I
you get a lot of greenery and that, so it's always good for families and
Yeah. And
what do you?
So, Quaz, what do you kind of what do you sort of see for yourself career-wise over the? We've got 5 months left in the year. You made I think it's an affirmative move. You were going to go on holiday for 2 weeks to Dubai because you had a record month, and then you decided actually you need to carry on working and do that. So, what do you think spurred that decision?
The amount of listings that are coming on.
Everyone wants to list
because
everyone wants to list with Quaz now.
I told Javid, I said, Jav, I'm going to do this video tour that day. I'm going to do this that day. I'm going to do this that day. And on that day, I'm definitely going to fly because I planned everything out. But then as the days went on, there was more listings coming on. And I was like, what's going on here then?
The universe sends you messages, the world will send you messages, and I'm telling you, because I just did 7 days in Mykonos, and it took me 7 days to get back to even like 2 weeks. I think you'll literally need to learn to walk and talk again.
No, but I even said to myself, you know what, I'll do 7 days. But even then, 7 days wasn't enough because like the amount of listings, I mean, we've got meetings booked in tomorrow, about £4 million worth of properties, and we've got £8 million worth of listings already kept coming onto the market. It's just so much going on right now. It's just, I don't think it's the right time for me to leave. I mean, even though I bought myself a pair of Chanel trainers, so
did you?
I made up for it.
I know there's quite a collection.
I had
to.
There,
so yeah.
I'm not taking it
Actually,
out like
we was
this.
out yesterday, wasn't we? And that lady complimented your shoes that you had on.
Oh, lovely.
She was out prospecting.
Always with nice shoes.
I really like
I'm telling
your
you.
shoes.
I remember
always.
People used to say, you will always judge a man by his shoes.
Yeah, always with nice shoes. She loved the shoes.
I can't stand rubbish shoes.
Yeah.
I can't stand rubbish shoes. I think it's so important. In fact, I actually, the one thing I really like about what we do here in real estate is that you, first of all, you can express yourself with kind of how you dress and what your image is. But regardless of what that style is and how you do it, you should always take a lot of pride in it, because I always feel like I see, I watched one of the property shows that was on television, and they were selling an £8 million house, a country home, and the negotiator, and he was a negotiator because we know they're estate agents and they're on basic salaries and they're on rubbish money, is he pulled up to an £8 million home on this show that was on Channel 4. I think it was Britain's Most Expensive Houses, right? And he had a beaten up Audi A4 with hubcaps. It didn't even have alloy wheels. His white shirt looked yellow, and his shoes literally looked like he looked like he'd climbed through a hedge.
That was the first meeting.
And that was him, and he was selling that house. And I thought to myself, if I had an £8 million home, which I'm sure I will do very soon, you are not coming within a fucking country mile of it, mate.
Yeah.
Like, if you pulled up on my drive in a car like that, selling a house of that stature, you're clearly not doing well. Like, you're not. Yeah. Now, whether he might be a billionaire and he might just be doing that job a bit on the side, but if he doesn't even take that sort of pride in his own image and his own business, what kind of pride is he going to take in selling my home? And, that's the thing. I can't stand scruffiness. I just think you've got to take pride in who you are.
You do have to be well presented, especially when you're prospecting. And, the first time that you're meeting someone is probably at their front door.
Yes.
And they are judging you the second they open that door.
First impressions,
First impressions do count.
Yes.
And, you've got to smile on your face and you dress smartly, they're going to give you 5 minutes of their time.
Of course they will, yeah.
And that could, end up into a, multi-million-pound listing.
I think it's down to standards at the end of the day. It's down to standards. I can't stand people who have low standards. I just think to myself, what are your standards with, do you look after your own health? Do you dress impeccably? Do you take pride in your self-development and learning of your industry? Do you have a strategy or a process for your job that makes you the best at that job? Are you always trying to become the best at what you're doing? These are standards that if you have high standards with everything you do, then that is going to resonate in your business, it's going to resonate in your performance, it's going to resonate in everything. Yeah, if you're just slapdash, if you just think, I'm just going to go out in a beaten up t-shirt, I'm just going to not wash this shirt, I'm not going to bother buying new shirts because this yellow one will do even though it's supposed to be white, that's not okay. Yeah. You just look like a tramp. And it's like, I just can't stand it. I just won't tolerate it. If someone comes up to me and they do, I don't care if you're rich or you're poor, it doesn't matter. You can buy a suit in Primark for 80 quid or 100 quid. Like, it's all about how much care you take of yourself. Are you getting your hair cut regularly? Are you, does your personal hygiene look correct? Are you brushing your hair? These little things, they don't cost a lot of money. They take effort.
A 5-minute job.
Yeah.
They will. Get everything done.
And, not for the hair.
No, not for maybe for,
for guys, not 5-minute job for us.
And but like, standards are something we talk about a lot in the business.
It is, yeah.
Because we have high standards in everything we do. We have high standards in when we carry out a meeting. There's a certain structure we have to go through that will include giving owners a proper breakdown of what their property's worth. So when we're talking about, most estate agents, I don't care what anyone says, they come in and they go, they have a look around. I've spoke to multiple owners and I say, how long does an estate agent spend in here? 20 minutes, half an hour? You know why? Because they've got nothing else to talk about. They go, oh yeah, that's nice. And they'll do a little nodding dog impression as they go around to all the different rooms. Oh, this is nice lounge, good size, isn't it? They usually say, yeah, that's nice.
How much do you want for it?
Yeah. So what are you looking for? Yeah. What do you want for it? I don't know, 2 million? All right, why don't we put it on for 2.5 and see how we get on? See which way the fucking wind's blowing. That's how they work. And actually what we do is detailed analysis. And I'm not going to give all of our secrets away, but you know what? They're not secrets. They're actually just basic due diligence. £1 per square foot, completed sales. Minimum. A proper breakdown of what a surveyor is going to look at when they're valuing up lending against your house. Yep. We are literally doing the job of what a surveyor's going to do before the fucking surveyor comes. So that way we're going to show them what the maximum value is they can get. Even if we magically get you 3 million on a £2 million house and it's worth 2.1, a surveyor's going to downvalue it. And any slightly sane buyer who's buying with cash is going to get a qualified surveyor in anyway to do a calculated detailed analysis of what the fucking thing's worth. So when an estate agent says, I'll try and get you this, I'll stick it on for that, there's no process involved. That's why they charge 1%. That's why they're all undercutting each other. That's why your house is sat on the market for a year. They don't know what they're fucking doing.
That's why they're happy with the salary.
And that's why we're battering them. That's why we're battering them. Because they're rubbish.
True.
It's true.
It is true.
And I will never ever hide from this fact. And I'll go up against any one of them. Because we are better than them in every way. This isn't about us saying we're better because we think we're better. The process and the standards we live by and breathe by day to day wipe the fucking floor with them. It does. Yeah. And that's why we're doing it. And I think the thing is that that's why the industry is there for the taking. We do this in New York City. We go up against Ryan Serhant and all his crew. We go into the fucking $1 million listing territory and try and knock Josh Altman off his fucking stool. It's not going to happen.
No.
These people, you could be there for 30 years. They are experts. We're dealing with someone on a 16 grand basic salary who earns 200 grand if he sells it. Sorry, I wish he did. Who earns 200 pounds, 250 pound for selling your £1 million home. Or we do the whole process. We market it to hundreds of thousands of potential buyers. We get you open houses rammed full of offers, and we get paid 10, 15, 20 grand a sale net for the agent. Who do you think is going to work harder? Who do you think the expert is? And then they wonder why we don't like being called estate agents.
Yeah.
It's standard.
The drive is completely different.
Of course it is.
From a estate agent to
It's a pride perspective. So you're saying, you know,
yeah.
you go up to someone's front door and you introduce yourself because you've got the solution to their problems. You're not
Yeah.
walking up going, oh God, I'm offering the same as what they're already getting.
Yeah.
Hopefully the agent will split his fee with me. We want them off. Get them off. Get these wastes of space off the listing.
Yeah.
And let the professionals take over.
Yeah.
And then we will show them how it's done. That's what we do. And it starts with that first meeting.
It does, yeah. I think, and sometimes it takes a lot of convincing with the homeowners because they're so stuck in their ways.
Naturally,
that they know,
yeah.
you know, they know what a high street estate agent does.
But that's the norm,
what
isn't
they
it?
expect. So sort of like when you're knocking on their door, they're like,
They just think
like you've come uninvited. So sometimes their backs up.
Yeah, we've got the solution, but sometimes you speak to the majority of these homeowners that are on with these so-called 1% agents. They can't even get through to them on the phone.
I know.
No.
That's the other
Let
thing.
alone sell the house.
I heard one that goes, I haven't heard from them in 2 weeks.
Because I spoke to someone last week, and I said, they didn't come. There was on a sole agency. Like, I can't even get through to my agent. I'm like, sorry. It was only Tuesday. It wasn't Sunday or Saturday. I mean, I still pick up my phone on a Sunday. So
yeah.
It was a weekday.
I can tell you because I am not someone who is guessing. I'm someone who learnt and plied his trade from 16 years old as a Saturday boy, working on the high street of Bletchley in Milton Keynes, selling shared ownerships for 25 grand. And I can tell you now, as I went through the ranks, right up through all the different high street corporate shithouses and all that they are, when you've got no answers for the vendor because you've got no idea how to sell their house, they call the office and then the administrator shouts over, she picks the phone up, she goes, I'll just put you on hold. Puts you on hold. Tyron, Mr. Smith from 123 High Street's on the phone. I go,
oh no.
Tell him I'm not here. Yeah. Tell him I'm on appointments.
Not dealing with it.
Tell him I'm not on appointments. I'll call him later. Shit, have you got any viewings for him? Have we got any viewings?
Yeah.
Did you get any viewings?
I don't want to have that awkward conversation.
Because there's no solution. They don't know what they're doing. And I think that homeowners have to understand, I'm giving you the window into what happens because I've lived it and breathed it and I've been there. And if you think, don't get me wrong, right? There are some good estate agents out there, but they are in the wrong structure. And I had a little ding dong. I probably went looking for it, to be fair, on LinkedIn, as I do. Sometimes I wake up and I choose violence. But, some estate agent was putting up stuff calling himself a luxury real estate agent. And I was just like, but you're not, are you? Like, you're not. And, it was a nice video, but I was like, but you're not. You're an estate agent. You're on a measly salary. You're earning 200 grand a sale. I keep saying 200 grand, £200 a sale.
That's crazy.
And you're calling yourself a luxury real estate agent, banding numbers around like 40, 50, 60 million, and you're on 18k, 16k a year. And I'm just like, you can't do that. We are chalk and cheese. Like, we are completely different animals. And, that is my gripe with it, because I just think that homeowners have got to understand that, yes, in the 1990s and the early 2000s, that was the norm. Leave your property on the market for a year, see if any buyers come through, whatever that process might be. But I'm telling you now, the levels are shifting up, and we're a prime example of that. I mean, Quaz, you've seen it. You've taken properties that are on the have been on the market for a year, for 2 years, and you have delivered sales.
Yeah. Well-known estate agents as well on a
well-known corporate national estate agents, and you've outperformed them in weeks when they've had
and
it.
I think there was a time where there was a certain estate agent that was going around saying not to list with me, telling homeowners not to list with me because my fees are too high.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
So stuck on the fee.
Wow.
It's crazy. And actually, and yes, our fees are high, but only on a percentage. But actually, what we explain very, very clearly is when we execute the strategy, and I challenge any homeowner, by the way, who's listening to this, if you think we're talking rubbish, right, and you've been stuck on the market for longer than 6 weeks, and your viewings have dried up, you're not getting the interest, you're not getting the offers, just challenge us. Do it even as if you're trying to catch us out.
Yeah.
Invite us over.
Yeah, give us the task.
Invite us over
and
say, do you know what? These lot are making a lot of noise. Let's hear what they've actually got to say. Invite us over, half an hour, 40 minutes of your time. And when you hear the process we put in place, how detailed, how so much more proactive and far advanced it is from a normal high street estate agent. I promise you, God's honest truth, you'll be blown away. And when you understand and listen to that, you will understand why and how we are selling these houses that these high street agents can't. How do you think we've grown from nothing to 300 plus multi-million pound listings in 2 years? How? You don't do that. I've seen multiple luxury agencies that have set up with big names. Big names. They've come from America, some of them. One of them in America, I won't name the name, an American one, they've had a show on Netflix and everything. They've got 120 plus agents in their network. I went on their Rightmove account. They've been going for 5 years, 2.5 years longer than us in the UK. They're established in the States, and they've got 80 listings. And 60% of those listings are the rubbish developments in London, the ones that have been like slagged around by every single estate agent. Even the rubbish independent ones on the high street have got these developments on. So I'm thinking, right, well, let's just do some basic maths. So you're telling me, because we've got about under 80 agents and we've got about 300 plus listings, works out about 4 listings an agent or something like that, roughly, right? Which is not a bad average considering we've got a lot of new people and we've got established people and all that stuff. As an average, it's bloody good, right? Per agent, with a lot of them selling and exchanging. Well, they've got 80 listings. Most of them are like, developments that no one can sell. And that means even if we include them, that works out at 0.7 a listing per agent. How the fuck do you make money in that scenario? That's not a business, is it? How can you make money off 0.7 a listing? You can't. It's impossible. And then you think to yourself, what? And you're calling yourself a national luxury real estate? No one's trusting you to sell their house. No one's giving you any houses to sell. You haven't done anything. But anyway, that's just, I'm very, very aware of the market we're up against. I think what you're both doing is absolutely, phenomenal. And just, lastly, to finish on, so I know we've said about what you're expecting for the rest of the year. Kirsty, what's the next 5 months looking like for you?
Ooh. A lot more listings.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to get some decent sales done. I think you're close to tying up a couple at the moment, aren't you? So,
some big sales.
Yeah, well, look,
listings.
I think, from what I can see, with what you've actually been doing recently, it's been phenomenal. And I think Quaz, God, are you quietly confident about being number one this year? Or are you not even giving it any thought?
I do look at the figures, but I don't, if you know what I mean. I just keep it moving.
I think the good thing is you have a genuine way about you where you do want everyone to do well. Yeah.
I was out with Kirsty, was it yesterday? Day before?
Yeah, yesterday.
We booked 6 MAs.
Wow.
And we sent over, we're expecting 2 contracts back already.
It's amazing.
And we've still got meetings booked in for tomorrow. So,
who knows?
Seeing her go from where she was to where she is now, she's relentless.
Yeah, because I can see. The thing is, I know Kirsty's been quite modest today, but her name is in the groups a lot, with a lot of results, a lot of listings. She's now got sales that are pending. There's a hell of a lot going on, and I think that it's great because what we've got is such a great contrast here. We've got people from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds. The one thing that I've always said and what I hated about the luxury property industry, there was this common misconception. You had to be private school educated. You had to come from a certain background. And then if you speak in a posh enough voice and you've got the right surname, you're allowed to sell £5 million homes. It's absolute bullshit. It is a process that is driven by expertise, by marketing, by negotiation and persistence. And if you develop all of those characteristics and you want it enough, it doesn't matter what colour you are, what background you're from, what religion you are, what height you are. It doesn't matter. It's all about how much you want it, how much you want to put in, and that is what makes you the money, and that's what gets owners the best price.
Do not limit yourself ever.
No.
Ever. Because of your race or the way you speak or where you've come from. It all depends on how much you want it and how much you believe in yourself.
You had preconceived ideas. I remember you used to say to me, I I knocked on the door, but I think he just saw some Asian guy walking up his
But
driveway.
I don't understand, man.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up, man. Like, I thought, you know, we're outcasts. Like, we can't be living it. Do you know what I'm saying? So it was different. It's not the same thing, man.
Call the police.
Yeah. Why look? See him again.
They probably still do think that.
It's just no.
But you're just better at selling now.
Yeah, come on. It's all in the mind. Yeah. It's all in your head.
It is.
Yeah, that's all it is.
I remember people used to say to me, "You're not going to be able to attack North London and that pocket. There's too many. It's just Jewish people in that area. You're Asian. They're not going to like you." I made some amazing Jewish friends. They loved me and my strategy and my hustle.
Same thing with Barnet. Do you remember I was telling you, like, when I started prospecting in Barnet, I felt that love already in Barnet, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna keep attacking this area. Yeah, and here we are.
Well, look, I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. But I've really, really enjoyed this. It was an unbelievable journey. Kirsty, you've got a huge, huge future, and I think if you're selling in East London, in North London, Essex, get in touch. These guys are absolutely on fire, and thanks for joining me today on the Real Estate All Stars.